Hi, this is Jenna.
And this is Heather.
And this is Conspiracies Unlocked.
And today we are going to be doing part 7 of the UAP disclosure hearing that has been ongoing since July of 2023.
Yes.
And this is our final episode.
No, you have one more, I thought.
Well, they do go into overtime.
So this is the final of the original. What was supposed to happen, it was supposed to only be 2 hours, and then they decided to go into overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just so interesting that they needed to have more information. So there will be a part 8.
Well, it's going to be a bonus-ode, or like a mini-sode. Not a bonus-ode, a mini-sode.
I don't know. Let's just focus on part 7 for now.
Okay. So we start our final meaty UAP disclosure hearing with Mr. Gates. Mr. Gates is our next speaker. He starts saying, several months ago, my office received a protected disclosure from Eglin Air Force Base indicating that there was a UAP incident that required my attention. I saw the briefing regarding that episode and brought it with me. Congressman Burchett and Congressman Luna were also advised. We asked to see any other evidence that had been taken by the flight crew in this endeavor and to observe any radar signature as well as to meet with the flight crew. We were not afforded access to all of the flight crew, and initially we were not afforded access to the images or the radar. We had a bit of a discussion of how the authorities flow in the United States of America, and we did then see images and met with one member of the flight crew who took the images. The image was of something that I am not able to attach to any human capability, either from the United States or the Armed Service Committee. Oh, I'm so sorry. Not the Arms Committee. But yeah, they wouldn't have any information on it either. Basically, he's saying that either United States or from any of our adversaries. Okay, so nobody. There's this technology, he cannot see it being from anywhere in the world. Is basically what he's saying, from what they witnessed. He said that he is somewhat informed on the matter, having served overseas working on DARPA. And for those who do not know what DARPA is the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, the central research and development organization for the United States Department of Defense. So he oversees DARPA. And he also oversees advanced technologies for several years. So he's not new to this. Mm-hmm. He's worked on advanced technologies. Yeah. He should have some knowledge of the way that these things move around. And he's like, I don't have anything to tell you. I don't have any knowledge of that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, in all of his research and development with the DoD, he has never seen anything like that.
So why are they interviewing him?
No, he's saying that he's not being interviewed. He's a speaker, but this is his little comments before he starts asking questions.
Oh, he's a question asker.
Yeah, that in all of his time working with the DoD, he's never seen the technology that they witnessed.
Yeah.
So he's saying it's not of this planet.
Yeah.
So he's like confirming on the record that he believes it's not of this planet.
Gotcha.
He's just saying it in his very wordy way.
Mm-hmm.
Then,
as they do.
Yeah. Then he went on to say that he spoke with the flight crew who witnessed the UAP. When he showed us the footage that he took of the UAP, he asked, well, actually it wasn't footage, it was a photo. He asked why wasn't video engaged? Like, if you're going to get a photograph, why not get a video of this thing shooting around or floating or whatever it's doing? And the crewman stated that they didn't have the FLIR system, which is, if you don't know what the FLIR system is, it is the forward-looking infrared camera that is typically used on military and civilian aircrafts. They use a thermographic camera that senses infrared radiation. So, for whatever reason, the jet that they were flying or whatever, they were using, they didn't have that filtration system, so they weren't able to see it with the infrared. Then he went on to say this is what the pilot said, or this is what the crew member said, he said that they were out on a test mission that day on the Gulf of Mexico. So that's where they saw it, off the Gulf of Mexico.
Okay. That's not where they usually see them.
This is a new location.
Yeah,
this is it's interesting because it's kind of like surrounding everywhere now.
Yeah.
All of America, they're kind of putting, because there was one in Alaska, there was one in Pacific, now Gulf of Mexico, East Coast, it's like almost all around.
Have you seen the memes where they're like, oh, aliens only visit America, they don't visit anywhere else? Like, yeah, it's weird.
Well, they went to Mexico.
I think that aliens do, like, I think that there are sightings everywhere. It's just we're here, so we only see them here. We don't see the news and all this, social media and other places.
Because we have our news, and we don't, unless you watch other...
Yeah, like the BBC news or like the world news, I guess. I don't even know if it'd make world news.
I think that they have, like, Mexico did come out and said that they found some aliens and stuff, so it is coming out more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yes, for sure.
Well, they definitely saw them off the Gulf of Mexico that day. He went on to say, when you're on a test mission, you're supposed to have clear airspace. You're not supposed to be, there's not supposed to be anything that shows up. So when they do their test mission, they already have that area closed off for the test mission, and any other aircraft are advised not to use that airspace. It's like when they work on a road or something, they have to close the road. Yeah, they have to close the air for these tests. So there wasn't supposed to be anything. But there was. And what they saw was a sequence of 4 craft. So they saw 4 and a clear diamond formation.
Wow.
He said for which there was radar sequence that I observed, and he presented it to the United States Congress. One of the pilots would go to check out the diamond formation, like he would go to fly towards it and check it out. And when he did that, he saw a large floating orb.
Wow.
With the formation, like a separate orb.
Yeah, that's spooky.
Yeah, and he didn't elaborate more of like if it was translucent or if it was like solid or if it was like I don't know what. He just said floating orb. He went on to say, not of any human capability that I am aware of. When the pilot approached it, he said that his radar went down and his FLIR system malfunctioned. So, I mean, that says why they couldn't get the video. He had to manually take the image from one of the lenses, and it was not an automated collection that you would typically see in a test mission. So then, after Mr. Gates discloses all of that information, he then goes on to his questioning, and he starts with Commander Fravor. He asks, or he states, how should we think about the fact that this craft that was approached by our pilot had the capability of disarming a number of the sensors and collection systems on the craft? I mean, that's pretty concerning. If it can shut down your jet, what if it gets just like, without even shooting a weapon at you, like a physical, like a missile? What if it does some kind of other blast, like what do they call them, the EM...
the electromagnetic.
It probably does something like that and just like messes everything up.
Yeah, just like zap it, but not even zapping. It's like almost like, I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I don't know either. You know what I mean? I do know what you mean though.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's something like that. Oh, yeah. EMPG?
What's EMPG?
Oh no.
I don't know. Go on.
You guys know what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
So we'll put it in the show notes. Mr. Fravor answered, stating, this goes to the national security side. You can go back in history of things showing up at certain areas and disabling our capabilities, which is disheartening for us. Like I said, it completely disabled the radar in the craft, and when I tried to do it, I could only see it passively, and that is how he ended up getting the image. So there wasn't anything that he can do to try to fix his radar and such when he was in flight. He just had to wait for it to kind of pass.
Yeah, for sure. What are you going to do?
So that is a concern that, So that's a concern. What are these doing? Not only how they operate, but what their capabilities are to do this. Things like this. Question that he asked next is, how should we think about four moving craft in a very clear formation from one another in a diamond shape? In all the phenomenon, perhaps Mr. Graves, that you've analyzed, we have never seen, have we ever seen multiple crafts in a single formation? Mr. Graves then answers, I have one particular case that was during the gimbal incident. The recording of the FLIR system shows a single object that rotates. You hear the pilots refer to a fleet of objects that is not visible on the FLIR system. That was something that I witnessed during a debrief as part of a radar data on the situational awareness page. I would like to add, however, Congressman, there is a small bit of anger that those pilots are still facing, that the difficulty in reporting this topic, they do not have the tools to be able to mitigate this issue. It goes to show how serious this is and why this is such an important issue for our pilots and for our nation. Mr. Gates then questions further, and he states, it was stated explicitly to me by these test pilots, if you have a UAP experience, the best thing you can do for your career is just forget about it and not tell anyone at all. Because any type of reporting, whether above the surface or below the surface, does have a perceived consequence that these people, and it is a culture that we must change if we want to get the truth out for transparency. But, Mr. Chairman, I would observe that perhaps as we move forward from this hearing, there are some obvious next steps. Every person watching this knows we need to meet with Mr. Grush in a secure compartment.
Oh my God, he totally called him out on that.
Yeah, I know, it's so funny.
Everybody knows that we have to go to skiff. We have to go into a skiff with Mr. Grush.
Right.
Oh my gosh, so they're just like, fuck this, I'm not even going to talk to you. So
well, I mean, they still question Mr. Grush throughout the rest of this hearing, but it's like, they already know what he's going to say, but the thing is, they already have their questions written out. Yeah. And they couldn't anticipate how he was going to answer beforehand.
No, sorry, can't answer. Well, what the fuck are you doing there, Mr. Grush?
Yeah, but it's just funny because he's like, everyone knows watching this, we need to meet with Mr. Grush at a skiff. So that we
Good for him.
Yeah, so he says, so that we can get answers that do not put him in jeopardy and gives us the information we need. Mm-hmm. Second, I would suggest that the radar images that were collected of this formation of crafts off of Eglin Air Force Base, and specifically the actual image taken by the actual flight crew that can actually be validated, be provided to these committees. And suspend if necessary, so that we are able. Subpoenaed if necessary, so we are able to track down and get this type of recording analysis done. That would be my recommendations humbly as a guest here of this fine oversight committee. I yield to the chairman. So yeah, get Mr. Grush into skiff and give the information that can be
validated
to the proper authorities.
Somebody who can then speak out that
can actually talk about it.
Yeah, like pass the information along, please, Mr. Grush.
Please
pass it to somebody who isn't afraid of the big bad wolf.
I mean, he did 11 and a half hours with a bunch of different committees I don't know if they're he already gave 11 and a half hours of statements, and I'm sure that he did provide some, but it needs to be provided in a public setting is the main point. This is a public hearing, and it needs. If they want to do disclosure and they want to be transparent, they have to let him speak,
Yeah, he needs to speak. Yeah, like, this is ridiculous.
He's being silenced. He's protecting himself, which anybody would. Nobody wants to get Clinton these days. So the chairman then calls on Miss Mays. She thanks everyone for their time and states today's hearing is of great importance to our national security. Continuing, she states, earlier this year, a Chinese spy balloon was shot down off the coast of my home state, South Carolina.
I still want to know what happened with the spy balloon. Did they go into it at all?
They do not go into it.
I want to know what happened. Like, all we knew is that they got it, they went and collected the pieces, but then what?
They have been asking about it a lot in this, too. Good. If you remember the other episodes, there was multiple Congress people, men and women that were saying, hey, what happened with that? Where's the data? But that goes back to transparency. And remember, Mr. Fravor stated that anything even collected on an iPhone is considered top secret classification, and they will confiscate it and scrub the phone and scrub the cloud and whatever they do to make it go away, or only have copies for themselves.
It's irritating.
Yeah, and that's what happened with some of these.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we did have, images that were put on the news of the spy balloon because, or UAP, because it was highly televised, but they didn't tell us what any of the wreckage showed or anything. And, that will probably hopefully come out, but I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. Especially if it was a true UAP and not a spy balloon, and it was something from another, world or planet or aliens or whatever. They're not going to give it to us right now.
But this is the time to give it to us because it's a UAP hearing. This is the opportune moment.
Yeah, but these people at the hearing, they don't even know.
Yeah.
They don't even know. Maybe Mr. Grush knows.
Probably. He's probably behind the whole goddamn thing.
He might be the one that knows. She goes on to say that, the spy balloon was shot down off the coast of her home state, South Carolina. She went on to say, since the Roswell incident in 1947, many Americans have wondered about the dangers of unknown objects crisscrossing our skies. Whether these are UAPs or weather phenomenon or advanced technology from America or allies or enemy forces or something more out of this world. She begins her questioning after her statements, and she questions everyone, stating, when you reported your experiences with the UAP, did any of you face any repercussions with your superiors, yes or no? Mr. Graves and Mr. Fravor both stated no. Mr. Grush, in his extra answer, says, I've actually never seen anything personally, believe it or not. So this whistleblower that knows everything has never seen anything? Why is he the whistleblower?
That's what I've been saying this whole time. I think he just wants to be up there. I think he wants the fame.
Do you think that the government chose him to be like their spokesperson, whistleblower, like say what we want you to say?
Like little puppet.
But then Mr. Fravor has a real incident, the Tic Tac, and that is like credible. It's been validated and everything. And then Mr. Graves, he's seen some stuff, but he doesn't. I don't know. Mr. Graves is kind of quiet. I mean, he talks, but what does Mr. Graves really know, even? What has he really said?
I don't know.
He hasn't really said much.
I don't know. Nobody's really said too much.
Mr. Fravor has actually said the most about the Tic Tac.
Yeah.
I mean, there was the red one that was like the size of a football field.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And then I guess that was Mr. Graves.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there was also now this one off the Gulf of Mexico. So there has been
information, but Grush is nothing. No.
Grush is just skiff.
That's going to be our new word.
Grush is skiff.
Anytime that anybody's secretive, we're going to start saying they're skiff.
Like, meet me in a skiff.
They're skiff.
I have to talk to you.
They're skiffy.
They're skiffing.
They're
skiffy. Oh, it's a new slang.
Yeah, it's a new slang. We just made up a new slang.
Yeah.
They're being skiffy.
Yeah, you're skiffy.
Yeah.
It's like iffy.
But
you're skiffy.
You're skiffy because you're being all secretive. You're being skiffy. You could tell your daughter you're acting skiffy. And see what she says.
You're skiff, bruh.
Yeah, no cap.
No cap. You're skiff, bruh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is so like. Just roll with it. For real, roll with it.
Rolling with the homies.
Rolling with the homies.
They don't say that anymore, I guess.
No more kickbacks either.
And no more Netflix and chill because you got to be together to do that.
I'll meet you on Twitch. Or what is it? The live stream?
I don't know. It's a Twitch.
It's like where people live stream.
Aren't we live streaming?
No, but I mean it's like a community. I don't know. I don't even know. Okay. So anyway, we're gonna get back to Miss Mays. So she then her next question is: do you think there's an active disinformation campaign within our government to deny existence of UAPs? Yes or no? Mr. Graves, I do not have an answer to that. Mr. Grush, as previously stated publicly, yes. Mr. Fravor, here we go. I think previously with Project Blue Book.
You mean Project Blue Book that doesn't exist, that everyone says that is not real? That Project Blue Book?
Project Blue Book, yes.
Because it's only a conspiracy until it's proven right.
And this is just proven on a public hearing. Project Blue Book, yes.
Is real.
And not only was it, yes, real, but it was hugely part of a disinformation campaign from our U.S. government. He went on to say, but currently, I do not speak for the U.S. government. So he's just saying, like, those are my thoughts. That's not the U.S. government thoughts.
Okay.
But he confirmed
that it's real.
Yeah.
Which is better than we've ever gotten with anything else. I know my eyelashes are falling out.
I don't want that to get in your eyeball.
I know. I scratched my eyeball and my eyelashes started to fall out. I have fake eyelashes, guys. They're very hard to upkeep, too.
She has the lash extensions.
I have to go every 2 weeks so they can put them on, and I lay there.
Isn't it relaxing, though?
No.
Oh, it's not?
No! They, like, tape your eyelids apart from each other, and, like, and then the fumes, like, yeah, it's crazy. And then the fumes. Yes! So
your eyeballs don't fall off?
They're trying to. No, the fumes are really bad. And, like, so the first few times I was like, oh, my God, there's glue in my eyes. And they were like, it's physically impossible because they barely use any glue. But they were like, it's the fumes from the glue that's burning your eyes.
Oh my
so they have to put a fan on my eyeballs to, like, get the fumes out to, like, air out my eyeballs.
Ouch.
And then the upkeep on the fucking eyelashes, I have to, like, wash them and brush them every day. And, like, it's, like, a lot of work.
I just use mascara. It's too much work for me.
Well, but I can go... Some mornings I don't have time to put on makeup or anything. And I can just leave with no makeup on because it doesn't look like I'm a cracked out whore. Mm-hmm. Because my eyelashes are still there.
Yeah, I do. If I do just, like, put a minimal makeup on, it's always mascara and, like, just lip gloss or something. And I'm good. Yeah. But I have to have mascara because otherwise I feel like I look sleepy.
You look like a ghost. Like, it looks like there's nothing around you, just two little pupils floating in the air.
I feel like I just look really... And my lashes are actually pretty long for not having the extensions. I mean,
my eyelashes are, like, blonde or something. They're very light, so it really looks like I'm sickly.
I know what you mean, because it starts looking like they fell out or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to the next question from Miss Mays. She questions Mr. Graves specifically, and she asks him, what % of UAP sightings do you believe go unreported by our pilots? Mr. Graves stated that this is an approximation based on his personal experiences speaking with a number of pilots. He would estimate somewhere of only a 5% reporting.
Wow.
So of all of the UAPs that are seen, only 5% of those actually get reported.
That's insane.
Yeah, so not...
That makes sense, though.
Yeah, so at first I had to re-listen because I was like, wait, does he mean only 5% of pilots see UAPs? No, he meant only 5% report what they see.
That's crazy. Because then you have to also think of how much more is out there that they don't see. Because... do you know how many times, like, you look up and you think you see something out of the corner of your eye, and it could have been a UFO, but you don't even know, and you just kind of dismiss it? It's not like we're calling the fucking NASA to be like, hey,
oh yeah, so
we just saw something, yeah.
Like, oh,
so
imagine,
a bird or something. Or a shooting star or whatever. Imagine all the times like that where they don't know, where like you just as a normal person you don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. Or even I'm sure pilots do the same thing.
We were talking about Starlink earlier, and a lot of people are not really familiar with what Starlink is. I know people that didn't even know Starlink existed. So when they saw it in the sky, they thought it was like a formation of UFOs.
I would imagine because
but it's Starlink.
Luckily when Starlink they first did it, I was in Bakersfield at a race. And Brad's friend was like, look, they just launched Starlink. It's going to go past us right now. So it was like 10 o'clock at night. So we all looked up. So we saw it. So now whenever I see it, I'm like, oh, that's what it is. Or else I would have been freaked out. Could you imagine me in the middle of the desert and being like, this is it. Bye, guys. Yeah. We're going to die now. Like, I'd be freaked out.
I would have believed that it was too because you always hear about different formations people see.
And it's like, literally, it's like a parade of satellites going through the air, and you can see it with your naked eye, and it's literally like I think that it's like 50,000.
Is there like 20?
Thousands, like 20,000. And it takes forever for it all to go through.
I don't think there's 20,000.
Yes, there's thousands. Sure, I'll Google it right now. I'm telling you. You keep going, and I'll Google.
Okay, please Google it because I want to see more about that. So then after he said that there's only 5% reporting by these pilots, commercial pilots, and military pilots, she then stated, so 95% seen.
Sorry, really quick. It's over 5,000 right now, but they're planning to do 42,000. It's over
Starlink.
Over 5,000 Starlink satellites right now that just go by all in a row. I thought it was more than that.
It's weird because when I look at it in the sky, it looks like maybe like only 20 little lights.
But yeah, no, it's more than that.
Well, 5,000 satellites doesn't mean it's 5,000 in a row. It just means there's 5,000 collectively, like in the airspace or in the space around.
It's 300. Hold on, wait. It orbits 342 miles above Earth. See, look. That's so crazy.
Have you seen like the AI images of what the Earth is going to look like with like the grid all around it?
No.
Like it's that, and by 20 something, I don't know, it's just gonna, you can Google it right now, it'll come up. Oh yeah, I guess that could look like 5,000 or whatever. That the whole, like, imagine the Earth.
Look at that picture.
Oh yeah, it's way more than 20.
Yeah.
Imagine the Earth, the sphere, and then imagine like a net around it. I guess they call it Skynet. But it's not Skynet, but
is it just a whole bunch of
like a net around it, like a fish in a net? We're the fish in the net. It's like we're the globe in the net, and then the net is just a web of satellites, and to power the Earth.
That's so crazy. That sounds spooky, like sci-fi. I mean, we're hitting sci-fi.
Yeah, I love sci-fi too.
Yeah.
Skynet, and Skynet I think is from RoboCop. I think that's where Skynet came from.
Oh my gosh, how funny.
Yeah. So, so only, 95% do not get reported. They do not report the UAPs. Oh, Terminator Skynet, not RoboCop.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking up Skynet right now, so she just, like, glanced over and saw what I was looking at.
Yeah, we always have a computer up to, like, fact check things as we're speaking or just, like, look up things.
Yeah, I'm, like, so ADD that I have to have, like, something else going on in my life. I want to, like, I was just thinking about it. I should start, like, knitting. So while you're talking, I can knit.
No, don't knit. That doesn't help the podcast. This is perfect. We need to have. No, you're like, it's like the producer. You know, like on other radio shows and stuff. They always have somebody like they'll look it up and then they'll tell them in their ear. You know.
Yeah,
but you're looking it up and we're just telling everybody. So then Miss Mays goes on with her next question. It's okay. And she talks about the incident off of Virginia Beach, which she says, do you believe the Navy took the danger to your aircraft seriously after it was reported? Which is another incident Mr. Graves was involved in Virginia Beach when he saw UAP and the dangers that he was in. Mr. Graves did say absolutely. And then she had a few questions for Mr. Fravor.
That's good that they took him seriously, though. Because I could picture them just, like, blowing him off, just being like, oh, yeah, sure, dude, buddy, okay.
Yeah, I know they took it seriously, and that's, I mean, it was very important because it's, like, national security, like, and also if these have the capability of totally making all your systems pause, like the radar and everything just stop temporarily and just on pause, like, what else could it do to you? Could it just make you crash?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I bet it could. I definitely think that, yeah, definitely. It can fuck with our systems and shit. Like, yeah.
So then she started her questioning with Mr. Fravor, and she started by stating, as an expert naval aviator, have you seen an object that looked and moved like the Tic Tac UAP? No, he simply answered. Then she asked him, did the Tic Tac UAP move in such a way that defied laws of physics? Mr. Fravor stated, yes, the way we understand physics. She then asked Mr. Fravor and stated, many dismiss UAP reports as classified weapons testing by our own government. But in your experience as a pilot, does our government typically test advanced weapon systems right next to multi-million-dollar jets without informing the pilots? He says, no, they don't. We have test ranges for that.
Yeah.
I like how she throws in there next to multi-million-dollar jets. Like, this is American taxpayer money. They're just going to, like, compromise a multi-million-dollar jet.
Yeah.
And there's multiple. And she then said, it took over 15 years for your encounter with the Tic Tac to be declassified. This happened 15 years ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
15 fucking years to be declassified. What's the difference if they'd done it then, now, whenever? Like, why did it suddenly get declassified?
And that's exactly what she asked. She says, do you feel there is a good reason to prevent lawmakers from having access to this footage?
Yeah.
And he simply said, no, I think it was just ignored when it happened. It just sat somewhere in a file and it never got, the report never got, looked into. It was basically not reported.
That's crazy.
Miss Mays laughed at the answer, not at him, but just like, she just kind of chuckled and she said, that happens a lot here too, shocker.
Did you really say shocker?
Yeah, she was like, shocker.
Oh my gosh.
She then moved on to Mr. Grush. She asked, what percentage of UAPs do you feel are adequately investigated by the U.S. government of the 5% that are actually reported? Mr. Grush answered, I can only speak for my personal leadership over NGA. I tried to look at every report that came through that I could triage. So, going back to him saying he's never seen anything, he has seen the reports and he has seen images and footage because he would oversee the he was the UAP task force, but he didn't personally see it hit just himself in the sky.
So he didn't personally witness it. He's seen the reports
the photographs and the videos that have been presented to him.
Maybe that's why he's not allowed to say it, because it's not his experience.
Yeah,
it's somebody else's story to tell, not his story to tell. So maybe that.
Yeah, it's not his personal account.
Yeah. So maybe that's part of the reason why he's so like skiffy.
Probably. He's pretty skiffy. She then asked Mr. Grush, do you believe that officials at the highest level of our national security apparatus have unlawfully withheld information from Congress and subverted our oversight authority? Mr. Grush answers, there are certain elected leaders that have had more information. I'm not sure what they shared with certain Gang of 8 members, but certainly, I would not be surprised. She then asked him and stated, you have stated that the government is in possession of potentially non-human spacecraft. Based on your experience and conversations with experts, do you believe our government has made contact with intelligent extraterrestrials? Mr. Grush stated, that is something I cannot disclose in a public setting. Miss Mays then says, while laughing, okay, I can't ask you when you think this occurred then. Her next question was, if you believe we have crashed craft, as stated earlier, do we have the bodies of these pilots who piloted these craft? Mr. Grush stated, as I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah. Miss Mays asked further, were they human or non-human biologics? Mr. Grush actually answered, non-human.
Ooh.
He was able to say that. He did say non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge of the program that I talked to who are currently still on the program. Miss May's question, was this documentary evidence with video, photos, eyewitness? How would that have been determined that they're non-human? Mr. Grush said, the specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a second about.
He's so skiffy.
He's very skiffy. Miss Mays then says, you may or may not be able to answer my last question. Maybe we can get into a skiff at the next hearing.
You know what's interesting? A skiff, I just looked it up on the definition of it. It's a shallow, flat-bottomed, open boat with sharp bow and square stem.
Yeah, but you have to go skiff military.
Or I wonder if it's skiv. Is it skiff? IFF or is it IV?
It's this. It's SCIF.
I didn't realize that it's not a real word. It's
acronym.
That's the one.
I just write skiff so I know how to pronounce it.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Because I sometimes write phonetically.
A sensitive compartmented information facility, pronounced skiff.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I write it the way that you say. And remember when I went in that box on the USS Midway?
Oh, fuck.
It's just small. It's longer, but that's basically was a skiff, right?
Yeah.
I went in a skiff. We'll save that for another.
I think that it was actually to test the hearing.
It was, but that's basically what it is.
But yeah, we could have talked in there about anything and nobody would have heard shit. Mm-mm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Kind of like here.
Yeah. So it's basically like a shipping container size box that's like heavily
soundproof,
guarded, everything. It even has cameras on the outside so you can see who's coming and going with a keypad to get in.
That's crazy.
Really heavy, solid doors like a vault.
Uh-huh. All right. Keep going.
So she then does say, you may or may not be able to answer my last question. Maybe we can get into a skiff at the next hearing.
Stop saying skiff. It's funny now. It's becoming
funny.
I
gotta get through.
Well, I know. I'm sorry.
That's what they say. Skiff. I have to say what they say.
I know. Keep going. I'm just gonna giggle every time you say skiff.
We have to get into this skiff at the next hearing that we have, but Who in the government, what agency, sub-agency, what contractors, who should we call into the next hearing about UAPs, either a public setting or even in a private setting? You probably can't name names, but what agencies or organizations, contractors do we need to call in to get these questions answered? Whether it's about funding, what programs are happening, or what is really out there. Mr. Grush then says, I can give you specific cooperative and hostile witness list of specific individuals that were in those. And she asks, how soon can we get the list?
Meet you in the skiff.
No, he says, I am happy to provide you that after the hearing. So she got her list after the hearing.
Really?
Yeah, he can give her the list, but he cannot say it in a public setting. And he can hand her a list. He's not saying anything verbally. It's up to her to keep that paper will be top secret. You know, it's like. So then Miss Mace, she said super and said thank you, and she yielded back. The chairman then called on Mr. Langworthy. Mr. Langworthy, as you recall in one of our previous episodes, he was skipped over and he was like held kind of for the last, for whatever reason. So now he's called upon, and he directs all of his questions to Mr. Fravor, specifically regarding the Tic Tac incident. The first question he had for Commander Fravor, he actually said, can you briefly describe your background for the record? Mr. Fravor states, I was an enlisted Marine Naval Academy graduate. In the Navy, I flew for 18 years. I got a master's from the University of Houston. I've worked in the private sector for 19, 16, maybe 17 years, and I do a lot of defense work. Mr. Langley said, so really gold-plated credentials. Commander Fravor, we have all seen the floating Tic Tac video that you engaged with on November 14th, 2004. Can you
20 years ago.
Can you
19, sorry.
Can you briefly talk about why you were off the coast of San Diego that day? Mr. Fravor says, yes, we were at a workup with all of the battle groups. We
integrate?
Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't say that. We integrate the ships with the carrier, the air wing with the carrier, and we start working. We were doing an air defense to hone not only our skills, but the USS Princeton. They have been tracking them, meaning the UAPs that they saw during that time, for 2 weeks.
Wow.
The problem was there was never manned craft airborne when they were tracking them. This was the first day, and unfortunately, we were the ones airborne when we saw it. So for the first 2 weeks, they were just tracking it on their systems. I don't know if they put up drones or something, but they did not have manned aircraft, probably just as a safety precaution, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
So when he went up there and his crew, they were the first people to see it. And it's funny how he says, unfortunately. Like, I don't know why.
God damn it.
And he's like,
probably
now
because
I'm
of all
here.
the paperwork he had to do.
Yeah.
And he's still dealing with it now. So he's like, unfortunately, I got roped into this shit.
Unfortunately, I was one of the people who saw it. Mr. Langley says, do you remember the weather that day? Was it cloudy or windy or anything out of the ordinary on the Pacific coast? Mr. Fravor laughed kind of, and he said, if you're familiar with San Diego, it was a perfect day. Light winds, no whitecaps, clear skies, not a cloud. For flying, it was the best. Mr. Langley then says, is it true that in your words, you saw a 40-foot flying tic-tac shaped object? Mr. Fravor simply answered, yes. For some people who do not know what a tic-tac is, it's like a flying propane tank. Like the shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's larger, I would hope.
No, it's 40 foot.
Yeah, okay, it's 40 foot.
Yeah, 40 foot. But it's just like,
the shape
I
of
guess
it.
some people don't know what a tic-tac is. I don't know, maybe they don't have tic-tacs in other countries and stuff, because anybody can, like, watch this.
Yeah.
I need to stretch my legs out real quick. Hold on.
I don't know, I feel like everyone should know what a tic-tac looks like.
Yeah, he's just
It's
saying.
like a bullet.
He was just kind of being silly,
Capsule.
too. Like, He's like, oh, it's like a propane tank.
Like a pill capsule.
Yeah, like a pill or something. So, and then Mr. Langley says, fair enough. Did this object come up on radar or interfere with your radar or the USS Princeton's? Mr. Fravor stated the Princeton tracked it and the Nimitz tracked it. The E-2 tracked it. We never saw it on our radars or our flight control radar. It never picked it up. The other airplane that took the video did get it on radar. As soon as it tried to lock it on the radar, it split the lock and rapidly switched over to the targeting, which you can do in an F-18. So basically it fucked with their radar system. Mr. Langley then said, from what you saw that day and what you've seen on video, did you see any source of propulsion from the flying object, including any potential thermal scans from your aircraft? Mr. Fravor said, no, there was none. No IR plumes coming out. And Chad, who took the video, went through all of the EO, which is black and white TV, and the IR modes. And there is no visual signs of propulsion. It is just sitting in space at 20,000 feet.
Wow.
Then he asks, in your career, have you ever seen a propulsion system that creates no thermal exhaust? He simply answered, no.
That's crazy.
Yeah. He went on to ask him to describe the aircraft maneuvers, in which Mr. Fravor said that the Tic Tac craft moved abruptly and very determined. It knew exactly what it was doing, and it was aware of our presence. And it accelerated, at which it went from 0 to matching speed in snaps his fingers. No time at all. Then he questions further and says, if the fastest plane on Earth was trying to do these maneuvers that you say, would it be capable of doing that? He said, no, not even close. I mean, what do we have that's just like boom, 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 boom?
Yeah,
Nothing. He then said, was the aircraft that you were flying, was your craft armed? So was his he says, no, and he never felt threatened at all.
Oh,
so
wow.
he didn't have any weapons on him. And then he asked, if the aircraft was armed, do you believe that the craft or any craft in possession of the United States would have shot the Tic Tac down? And then Mr. Fravor said, no. I'd say no. Just on the performance, it would have just left in a split second. So even if they had weapons, missiles, they wouldn't have been able to lock on it, because by the time they locked on it, it would be gone.
Yeah.
They wouldn't even be able to do it. And especially if it has capabilities of maybe it could disarm, but like, messing with radar and stuff, it could probably mess with the missile so it couldn't go off, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Disarm it somehow.
No, I think so too. Like, that wouldn't even matter if he had anything on him anyways.
Yeah.
They would have just taken it away, like, made it stop.
Yeah, they would have probably
if they felt a threat, they would have just made the plane go out of the sky.
But then they would have to anticipate that he's going to engage the missiles. So they would have to know somehow that he was trying to do that.
I wonder if they have telepathy, if they're telepathic.
Or maybe they have, X-ray. They can see inside what's happening, if they can see the missiles.
I could believe that.
Mm-hmm. So,
have you seen the Alexa and stuff where they can see what's going on in the house?
Yes.
So if we're just barely starting to get that technology, then aliens for sure already have that technology. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very advanced from what it says. Like, they defy laws of physics. So I'm sure that they can see X-ray vision.
Or at least see what's going on, or hear what's going on, or whatever. They're probably on the ship with him. They don't even know it. They're probably having visibility.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
If they're interdimensional, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Which
That's
Mr. Crush said that they might be in the last one. So then he then says, so it looks like we have a problem that needs further investigation, and the entire courtroom broke out into laughter. And then Mr. Fravor said yes. Like, duh.
Why do you think we're here?
He said, in your belief, this flying Tic Tac, is it capable of being the product of any other nation on Earth? Mr. Fravor said no. Like I said earlier, I think it defies current material science and the ability to develop that much propulsion. I know there has been some physicists who have done calculations which they said it is beyond anything that we have. So they've been studying
They
what
keep
they can.
asking these people the same questions. Like, they've asked that how many times about, like,
Well, they're
is this-
different. They're different
But I guess,
people.
yes, they're different, like, tic-tac to this, to that. But it's like, dude, none of this shit is of this world. That's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Find a different question.
But also, they probably don't know what each other's questions are.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many people asking questions. They're probably not like, what are you asking? What are you asking?
Yeah.
Like, maybe, but so a lot of the questions are similar. So then he says, well, either, he says, Mr. Langworthy then says, well, either the United States has an adversary here in this world that we do not know, or we really have some serious investigations to do. I really appreciate you being here. Is there anything else about the November 4th, 2004 incident that you think it is important for the committee to know that you have not been asked here today? And Mr. Fravor said, no, it's been said that it's probably the most credible UFO sighting in history based on all the sensors that were tracking it. Then for us to get visual and go against all the naysayers, it is something on the screen or whatever. Like, it's just like a little blurb on the screen or whatever. I mean, there is 4 sets of human eyes. We are all very credible. Of all 6 of us that were involved, including the video, everyone has done 20 plus years in the military in a very responsible positions. I'd say the world needs to know that this is not a joke. Like, they're real, like, we're credible.
Yeah.
So then he yields back to the chairman, and the chairman calls upon Mr. Oglias. Mr. Oglias states, I served on the National Security Subcommittee for the financial services of the committee, so I really want to stay in the national security lane. For all 3 witnesses, is there any indication that these UAPs could be collecting reconnaissance information? They all said yes. Mr. Graves said yes. Mr. Grush said that's a fair assessment, yeah. And Mr. Fravor said very possible. Is it possible that these UAPs would be probing our capabilities? They all answered yes, definitely. Is it possible that these UAPs are testing for vulnerabilities in our current systems?
Yeah.
They all answered yes, very possible. He asked, do you feel, based off of your experience and information that you've been privy to, these UAPs provide an existential threat to the national security of the United States? They all answered potentially. Mr. Graves and Mr. Fravor, in the events that you encountered that became hostile, would you have had the capabilities to defend yourself, your crew, or your aircraft? Mr. Graves said absolutely not, and Mr. Graves said no. He then said, based off all the information you've been privy to, is there any indication that these UAPs are interested in our nuclear technology and capabilities? Mr. Graves said yes. Mr. Grush said, by external observation, that could be a fair assessment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Fravor, he can't just say yes. He's so extra. And Mr. Fravor said yes. And then he asked, is there any indication that the Department of Energy is involved in UAP data collection and housing? Mr. Graves said, I do not have an answer. And Mr. Grush said, I cannot confirm or deny in a public setting. And then he says, could you do it in a secure setting? He says, yes.
Very skiffy.
Mr. Fravor said, no, I don't know. Then he said to the chairman, I think I am the last member to go, but clearly there is a threat to the national security of the United States of America. As a member of Congress, we have a responsibility to maintain oversight and be aware of these activities so that, if appropriate, we take action. I could encourage the chairman to demand that we have any and all, but in particular Mr. Grush, talk in a skiff if that access is denied. I will personally volunteer to initiate the Holm Rule against any personnel or program or agency that denies access to Congress. And then with that, we are going to end. I will say that he does yield back to the chairman, and they do actually go into overtime. So there is going to be a short part 8, which is going to be the overtime, because he was the last speaker, but he did yield the last remaining minutes to Mr. Burchett of Tennessee. So we know, I didn't even want to get into that, because as soon as he says Mr. Burchett, I know it's going to be a lot and it's going to be fun. So we'll save that for next time with Mr. Burchett, and Miss Luna does also speak. And I believe it's just them two, but there might be one other speaker.
And really quick, I just Googled what the Holman Rule is, because I didn't know what that was. Mm-hmm. And the Holman Rule is a rule in the United States House of Representatives that allows amendments to appropriations legislation that would reduce the salary of or fire specific federal employees or cut a specific program. Mm-hmm. So he must be saying that he's going to get people fired and funding cut because he's part of the, because he works with the financial committee. So he can do that. People aren't, if you're denying access
to the skiff to talk to Mr. Grush or anyone else, if we can't get with Mr. Grush in a skiff and we're denied that access, he's basically going to start cutting funding and firing people. So you go. And, I had a hard time saying his name, but again, that was Mr. Oakley, or not Oakley.
Ugly Bugly.
Where did I put it?
Heather found that it is pronounced Mr. Ogles, Ogles.
And he serves on the National Security Subcommittee for the Financial Services Committee. And so that's why he is able to cut funding and get people fired.
And call the Holman Rule.
The Holman Rule, yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening. Stay tuned for next week when we do the overtime of the UAP hearing, and that will be the final part 8. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to
share, like, and subscribe. And again, if you have any of your own UAP or any other phenomenon that you've witnessed, you can email us at conspiraciesunlocked@gmail.com, and we will put you in our next phenomenal fan encounter episode that we are working on.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.